In the heart of the Middle East, a storm is brewing. For years, the world has watched the relentless and often bloody Israel-Hamas conflict. But recent times have witnessed an unexpected escalation, with events unfolding that have shaken the global stage. A tale of shock and bewilderment, a narrative painted with both horror and hope. At the heart of this storm stands US President Joe Biden. His plea to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu echoes around the world, a plea to reconsider a military operation in Rafah. His worry is palpable, his words heavy with the weight of the lives of civilians seeking refuge in the area. He questions the efficacy of their plan and the possible cost of collateral damage. Together, they vow to remain in constant communication, standing united against the face of adversity. Their aim, the defeat of Hamas and the guarantee of long-term security for Israel. As the world watches with bated breath, the leaders inch forward in the hope of achieving their common goal, ready to weather the storm that brews in the heart of the Middle East. Despite the pleas, the situation takes a turn for the worse. The global community watched in mounting concern as the tension escalated. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock's voice was among the chorus, expressing apprehension over possibility of a humanitarian catastrophe in Rafah. The desperate call for a ceasefire echoed loud and clear, yet the conflict raged on, the situation further deteriorating. In an unexpected turn of events, the US Central Command carried out strikes on unmanned surface vessels and anti-ship cruise missiles Yemen, responding to a perceived threat to ships in the area. In the eye of the storm, Hamas issued a cautionary statement warning that any Israeli offensive in Rafah could put a spanner in the works of the negotiations for the release of remaining hostages. The cost of war becomes painfully clear as the catastrophic human toll emerges from Gaza. An overwhelming number of Palestinians, 28,176 to be exact, have tragically lost their lives, while over 67,000 have been left wounded amidst the Israeli campaign. As these staggering figures continue to rise, Israeli officials advocate for a different approach. Their proposition? A ground operation in Rafah. Their objective not one of conquest, but one of rescue, securing the release of hostages ensnared in this conflict. Ultimately, Israeli officials argue that a ground operation is the only way to secure the release of hostages. It's a stark reminder of the high price of conflict and the desperate measures taken to mitigate its effects. In a surprising turn of events, Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits Ramallah in November of 2023. The visit's primary purpose was to discuss the future of a Palestinian state, a discussion held between Blinken and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Meanwhile, the US was making concerted efforts to address the crisis. It called for a humanitarian pause in the fighting, devoted its resources to free hostages taken by Hamas, and worked tirelessly to provide aid to the war-stricken civilians in Gaza. Despite these efforts, the grim reality on the ground remained largely unchanged. The area had been subject to heavy bombardment, which resulted in a high death toll and forceful displacement of Palestinians. The outrage among Palestinians was mounting, with anger directed at both Israel and the United States. The closing note of the visit was a harsh criticism from Blinken, aimed towards Hamas for their use of human shields. He urged Israel to take steps to minimize civilian harm, indicating that the US was ready to mediate a pause in the fighting if an agreement to release hostages was reached. The future hangs in the balance. Where are we positioned in this scenario? We are in the midst of an ongoing conflict, seemingly without an end in sight. The impending potential impacts loom large. They threaten peace in the Middle East, challenge international relations, and hold the lives of numerous civilians hanging in the crossfire. The globe, with bated breath, watches and waits. As we hope for a resolution, we dream of a future with lasting peace and stability in the region.